Hi there, and welcome back to Spiritual Sage Astrology. We are going to be getting into the elements today. That is my surprise video. So every astrology sign is in a particular element. And the elements are fire, air, water, and earth. And these elements, as you can see, they're very important to life. We cannot live on this planet without these elements. You see how much that makes sense? They are part of our natal chart. They rule every astrology sign. Different ones. So for fire, it's going to be Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. What is fire? What is fire? Well, we can go back to primitive times. Caveman days. They needed fire for many reasons, to keep them warm, to cook, for even light, firelight at night, even maybe to fend off some enemies. Animals that were enemies, looked as enemies towards mankind in the primitive days. But we can even see fire needed today in situations like that. I don't know if any of you have heard of that show or seen that show. I don't know if it's still on. Bear Grylls. He teaches how survival skills. He taught survival skills. He was in the military. I believe it was a foreign military. I think he's from the UK, I believe. And he learned a lot of survival skills. And so he had a show, and he's written a lot of books, which I've read a couple of those books, on survival skills. And what is the main thing that you need to survive? I mean, he would be dropped from a helicopter in some of the remote areas on Earth to learn, to be able to survive that remote area, teach us how to do it, and get out of there alive. That was what the show was about. So he'd be dropped in these places, and what was one of the main things that he needed in order to survive out there? Fire, right? So just like in primitive times, we need that even today. If we get lost out in the woods, if we're camping or hiking, that would be a handy thing to come by that we really would need to survive. Would be fire. So that's one thing that fire, that we need fire for. What else is fire for? Fire can burn you, right? You get too close to the fire, it can burn. It also has the ability to keep you warm. And it also has a mesmerizing type of effect. Have you ever been at a campfire? When you go camping, you build a fire, or you're just maybe somewhere, or you're even in your backyard and you have a fireplace. You get kind of mesmerized by that fire. You can't stop looking at it. Your pets, if your dog's laying next to you, He likes to keep himself warm, and sometimes he'll be looking into the fire. Kind of a mesmerizing effect. So it has that ability as well. But it can be also very destructive, right? We have fires every year that take down acres and acres of forest. You know, and it can be very destructive. You know, a fire can start in a house or anywhere quite quickly. And then before you know it, you know, the building is destroyed. It's burned down. It can burn down your house in a matter of a very short time. It's a very powerful element. And how does this element relate to these fire signs? Well, it can be very similar to what we brought out. What is fire? You can relate that to these fire signs. Fire is impulsive. Fire can bring out very courageous, passionate creativity. For Aries, for instance, Aries is an innovator, concerned more with the present than the past, brave, enthusiastic. Aries initiates and spearheads, right? It's the spark of life, like that fire, right? Leo is passionate. You see that kind of, you know, burning passion within that flame. And then with Sagittarius, courageous, fiery, and Sagittarius is often a spiritual leader. And you can see spirituality, a deeper level in when you look at these elements. Because, you know, we've been talking about knowledge and guidance and all of that. And but, you know, when you take a moment to really feel these things, you know, feel that fire element in your chart. Because just because Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are the fire signs, you don't have to be one of those signs to feel that fire, right? Or to have some of that fire. We all have it. That's what I mean, is that we all have that fire somewhere in our chart. Some have more than others, but you're going to have some fire somewhere in your chart. You will have you'll have Sagittarius, Aries, or Leo somewhere in your chart. You know, so you can tap in to these elements and really just kind of close your eyes and feel these elements, you know. Just imagine, I mean, we cannot live without these elements, and they are part of our natal chart. That is such a deep spiritual reflection. And when you can feel those elements, you can really utilize all that energy. So that is the wonderful, marvelous fire energy that we need to survive. We all need that fire. You know, the literal fire and the spiritual fire, both. Now we come to air. And the three signs that have the air element, that are the air element, are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So what is air? What is air? This is another element that we need in order to survive. We need fresh, clean air to breathe into our lungs so that we can survive on this planet, right? Well, we can't. Can we see air? Can we see air? We can see air through different ways, right? I mean, we can see when the wind blows through the trees. We can see when the wind blows through a person's hair. When it's really strong in some places of the country, it can look like people are going to be blown against the wall, or they're walking. If they're walking against the wind, you can see the air then. Their ties and their clothes and their hair will be blowing in the wind. We can also see it when, sailboats, for instance. You need wind in order to sail a boat, for the sail to move on the boat. And you can see the wind in the air that way. What are some, there's some, air is quite powerful too. All the elements are. But air, one of the ways that air can be quite destructive are with hurricanes and tornadoes, right? Hurricanes are powerful house weather events that suck heat from tropical waters to fuel their fury. These violent storms form over the ocean, often beginning as a tropical wave, a low-pressure area that moves through the moisture-rich tropics, possibly enhancing shower and thunderstorm activity. Wind speeds within such a storm can reach 75 miles per hour, and that's what is classified as a hurricane. Right? So you can see how devastating and how strong wind can be with a hurricane. Right? And then we have tornadoes. Wind is also involved in tornadoes. Tornadoes are violently rotating columns of air, extending from a thunderstorm, which are in contact with the ground. Tornadoes develop when wind variations with height support rotation in the updraft. And they come in different sizes and can be like narrow rope swirls, as wide and some as wide as funnels. So that's another way that air can be quite destructive, and how we see air. Now, when it comes to the air signs, the air represents communication, humanitarian, intellectualism, and I believe too, even spiritual. They say that Libra is one of the signs that gets closest to God spiritually, that air. They're intuitively grasping the universal of ideas and principles. That's Aquarius. And Gemini is adaptable, expertly sorting, repatterning, and distributing ideas. So that is how powerful air is, and you can ponder on that too. Close your eyes and feel that air. Let's not keep it all in the head. You want to feel that energy. And once again, even if you're not an air sign, you will have air somewhere in your chart. And some people will have more air than others. But you can utilize the air in your chart as well. Okay, now we come to the water, and who contains the water elements? Who are the water element signs? That would be Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. They are the water element signs. And what is water? What is water? Once again, we need water to survive. We need water to survive. We are essentially approximately 70%, somewhere in that range, 70% water. That's what we're made of. So we need some serious water. We need some seriously good, clean water for our bodies to perform at its potential, right? Without water, I mean, we can live for days without food, but not without water. I think it's, 3 days or something like that without water. So water is one of the most important elements that we need to maintain our bodies here on this earth, right? Talk about, that's deep. That is deep, and that is beautifully a spiritual situation. Now, how powerful is this water? Water is incredibly powerful. I mean, just picture yourself out in the middle of the ocean. The ocean is so vast anyway, and there's so many mysterious things down there. There's things down there that people have never even touched on. There's so many unusual life elements down there in the deep darks of the ocean. That has always fascinated me. And this element in particular scares me the most. And that's because of that ocean. It's because of the ocean. The ocean is just so deep, so vast, and so dark. Right? Again, picture yourself in the middle of the ocean in a dinghy. What are you going to do? What are you going to do out there in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of this ocean? How are you going to survive? And then, you get some of these, powerful waves from the ocean. I mean, it can be angry. The ocean can be still. You can be still as like a pin, you can hear a pin drop. That's how still water can be, but it can also be raging, right? Waves raging and out of control. And, then there's always, the destructiveness of water as well. Just like with the rest of the elements. You got huge tsunamis and tidal waves. I mean, just insane, incredible, right? How destructive and how powerful water is and can be. So, when it comes to the signs with water, they're fluid and emotional, intuitive. You see how that water kind of works, that element of water works with being fluid, emotional, and intuitive. They rely more on their senses than logic, unlike the air signs. They're nurturing. They can be psychic. And there is a spiritual level also to the water signs. They can also be healers. There's a healing element to water. All right, and remember, even if you're not a water sign, you're going to have water somewhere in your chart. One of these signs will be somewhere in your chart. So you can utilize that energy. Now, some people will have more water in their chart than others. Just like with all the elements. But, you can close your eyes once again and reflect on that water. It's good to reflect on all these elements because we're made up of all these elements. We need all these elements to survive. Finally, we come to earth, the last element. And which signs are the earth signs? Which signs have the earth element, contain the earth element? Well, we have Taurus, we have Virgo, and we have Capricorn. They are the earth element signs. Okay? And what is earth? What is earth? Well, we can start with spring, right? In the spring, all the flowers bloom. Everything blooms from the earth. Everything blooms from the earth in spring. Then we have the fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables grow from earth. Right? We need soil. We need good soil to grow fruits and vegetables. So we can be healthy and we can eat those fruits and vegetables to sustain us while we live in these earthly bodies. So we need to eat while we are here. We cannot live without food. We can live a little longer than without water, but we still cannot live entirely without food. Some people have gone a long time without food, but in general, we need it to nourish our bodies, right? We need proper food. We need good, healthy food, such as fruits and vegetables. Those fruits and vegetables are grown in the earth. They are grown in the soil. So once again, we need the earth in order to live. Right? And what are some ways that the earth is quite powerful? Well, we have these incredible trees, right? We can't breathe without trees. We don't have oxygen. We don't have air without those trees. Those big, beautiful trees that bring us shade. Some of them bring us fruit. And they bring us oxygen. They're quite powerful, wouldn't you say? The trees. And they're quite lovely to look at. Alright? Some of them flower, some of them fruit, some of them bring brilliant shade, and then there's some that are just enormous in size, and there's some that are just incredibly old. And then there's so many things that people make from wood, right? So many things that are made from wood, from those trees. Shelter, homes. Crystals come from the Earth's crust, right? Computer chips have crystals in them. Crystals are extremely powerful, and they come from the Earth's crust. Right? And those trees, they're rooted in the earth. Just like the earth signs, they're rooted. They're stable, they're steady, like some of those trees that have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. Right? But earth can also be destructive. It can also be destructive. We can see that with earthquakes. We also see that with earthquakes. Earthquake, any sudden shaking of the ground caused by the passage of seismic waves through Earth's rocks. Seismic waves are produced when some form of energy stored in the Earth's crust is suddenly released, usually when masses of rocks straining against one another suddenly fracture and slip. Earthquakes occur most often along geologic faults, narrow zones where rock masses move in relation to one another. The major fault lines of the world are located at the fringes of the huge tectonic plates that make up Earth's crust. So we can see through history how destructive earthquakes have been. When that earth starts to shake, it can wreak havoc. It can destroy all the houses that were made from wood. It just destroy them, right? So once again, we got the yin and the yang of everything, the dark and the light, the good and the bad, right? Earth can be an amazing, beautiful element, but it also can be quite destructive. There's the dark side. You see? You see how this all adds up? And then, you see how all these elements too harmonize with each other? They all harmonize with each other as well. So you can see that in your chart as well. Well, let's bring out a little bit of the earth signs. I brought out how they're stable and rooted, a lot of them, depending, again, it's going to be depending on other conjunctions and placements and everything with your earth. But if you have strong earth in your chart, you will be quite dependable. You will be strong and rooted, and people tend to rely on you. Also, earth signs are considered sensual. That sensuality, comes from all that, the flowers, and the senses are heightened in earth signs. Okay, so if a person has really strong earth in their chart, all the five senses are going to be heightened. I have some strong earth in my chart, and sometimes I'll just kind of space out when I'm out in nature with people, and they look at me a little funny because I'm over there just in awe over, some kind of tree or, some kind of flower. I'm just lost in some kind of beauty that's overtaken me in the earth. I mean, in the nature that is surrounding us. And they'll be like, okay, come back to earth, come back now, because I just kind of zone out. And I don't try to do that on purpose. I don't do that on purpose. So there is that heightened sensuality for the earth signs. Again, they're dependable. And so that's a lot of what the earth signs are. And then once again, you'll have earth somewhere in your chart. So even if you're not an earth sign, you could have strong earth in your chart, or just some kind of earth in your chart. You'll have one of these signs in your chart, or just other placements. So you can utilize those too. It all can harmonize. It all can work together once you learn how to use it. Once you learn how to use this, they will all harmonize and come together and work for you. Use all your energies. Okay? So that has been the elements. And so I thank you for being here and listening to the video on elements. And I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. And please feel free to go back and check some of the others. And you can check these videos that I have, not just for yourself, but other people in your life that perhaps, have some of these placements. I think it would be quite useful. And once again, next time you go out into the stars, I hope that you see things in a different light. And you understand how deep this really is, how much it is a part of us. You see, with the elements, we cannot live without these elements. And then here they are in our charts, in our star map, right? You see how that works? You see how that's crafted? They're there to guide us. These beautiful stars, these luminaries are there to guide us. And remember that you are all noble because you are made from those stars. Have a lovely day. Thank you.